Greetings. You're watching This Is My Health, a show that seeks to empower you with information so that you can look after your own health. Today's show is a very special one. We are looking at this issue of working from home. In the studio, I have with me HR practitioners, Hloni Mpatlele and Vusi Khadebe. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, ma'am.
As you have heard, we are trying to look at this topic of working from home. We know that the world has just been reeling through this issue of COVID-19. And out of that, a lot of decisions were made. And some of those decisions, they affect employees. In medical field, we look at them as patients. But the patients are also people that work from somewhere. So I'm hoping that you will help us appreciate a number of issues that are surrounding this thing called working at home, starting with explaining it. What is working from home, say? What does it mean? People tell you are working from home. What does it mean?
Thank you, Doctor. I want to say working from home is achieving, the company's goals or your goals, by, doing what is expected. Mm-hmm. As long as you do that and you can deliver, it will be acceptable. So it will be work from home.
Wow. Mm. Spoken like a practitioner. And I'm asking myself, I should work for you. I could sit here and be working, right? Is there anything else that goes into expectations for somebody to work from home?
Most certainly, Doc. The expectation is that you are present in a working environment. Therefore, you have to make sure that you have logged on. Our expectation is that although we are now using MS Teams for meetings, your camera must be on.
We are using what?
MS Teams.
What are those?
So now it's a virtual world. I'm not going to the office, obviously, to work, but I'm home, and companies have ensured that they provide us with tools that enable us to communicate and engage with one another. What was prevalent during that time, I think, was Zoom. Zoom became a most prevalent tool that we used. However, organization introduced what we call MS Teams. So you prepare to be at work. You wake up, you bath, you show up as if you're at work. When we have meetings, you are expected to show your camera. So you cannot be engaging with your camera off because you are at work. Therefore, you act. Though you're at home, it is expected that you act as if you're in the office.
Thank you very much. I learned a lot of new words in there. And it made me wonder, you are emphasizing the virtual world. And I'm imagining this is a world where you are with somebody, but you are not really with somebody. You see, here I'm physically with you. Now, that brings me to a question of, can everybody really do that? Actually, a lot of questions come to my mind. You are assuming there's a camera. You are assuming there is a computer. You are assuming there's network somewhere. Can we talk to that one? When companies say go work at home, what is the expectation? Who puts what in place? Yes, sir. Talk to that.
I would say it's not all jobs that can be suitable, to work from home. But I would say a number of jobs, especially like jobs that we classify as enablers. Those jobs can actually be done at home, because like Sister Mpatlele said, that we've been given tools to make sure that, we can interact with each other, we can see each other, and we can also pass on a lot of information much more quicker.
You're going to hold it right there, because I can see somebody is calling whereby they would like us to discuss with them their experience from working from home. So if we just hold it right there and we look at the screen on what we are being shown now.
Hello, my name is Masabata. and I live in Dobsonville. I work in the finance department. Working from home is totally different from working in the office. You find yourself doing some errands, your chores, attending to friends who just drop in, and your children if you are a parent. My question for This Is My Health is, how do you become productive whilst you're working from home?
That was an interesting experience of somebody who has been working from home. And really, there's no particular question in there, but more of them sharing their experience. And I think as we continue with our show and unpacking some of these things, it will help some of those people who may be having challenges or having other experiential issues. But we can't really deal with it right now. So what we are going to do is we're going to go for a break. And then when we come back, we'll go into, unpacking the whole thing. Please don't go away. We'll be right back. I'm sure you want to hear more about this issue of working at home. Welcome back. If you are only joining us now, you are watching This Is My Health. And the topic for today is working from home, a phenomenon that was blown out of proportions that we're used to by the COVID-19 pandemic. Before we left, we had just received a call from one of our viewers on their experience from working from home. And within that call, some challenges were actually outlined. And in the studio with my HR practitioners here, we are going to try to talk a little bit to the issues that were raised. Welcome back.
Thank you, Doc.
Now, as we were going for a break, you had just started talking about the virtual world, where how people end up being monitored that they're working from home. And my little challenge with that was that it seems to assume that there are also computers and cameras and all sorts of things. But as you know, in COVID-19, everybody was working from home. Is it then the correct assumption that cameras were then issued all around and computers were issued all around so that people, as you say, could get up and go for work? Let's talk to that. How realistic? What about the other people whose job was perhaps processing things, if you are going to talk in the space of that? Talk to me, say. You come from
I would say there are jobs that couldn't really be done remote, like people operating machines. Actually, those were the people that were allowed to go to the plants and started operating those machines. An advantage was that you had a smaller number of people turning up at work, so your work was done correctly and without people being worried about the numbers that they're facing every day.
Of course, that is on the COVID side for social distancing. Now let's go back to those who are actually working at home and they don't have all these things. Yes.
Well, most of the people that could work at home had to have those tools, like your PC.
PC is the computer, right?
Your computers and other tools. Some companies even, went further. They made sure that they would provide people with a bit of furniture so that people are not now affected. Their health is not affected by sitting on chairs that are not comfortable. So they would subsidize them to a certain level so that at the end of the day they can achieve those goals.
I like that you are talking about furniture and sitting on comfortable space. As you would know, my background is health. And as soon as you started talking about this, I started asking myself, this person who is now working from home, how big is their space? Because for me, I'm looking at some of those challenges that are there. And I'm wondering, you as HR people, what sort of recommendations have you or could you make to organizations? If I'm staying, which is the reality of many people, including a number of our viewers, I'm staying in a 2-room house or a shack or a 1-bedroom house with the children. Now I have to work from home. All I have is a bed, maybe a chair, maybe a corner for that, and I'm actually expected to be productive. Talk to me about issues of productivity under such circumstances. Talk to me about issues of how really companies should do. I think you have laws. You work with laws. Talk to me about that. What should be done for people, really?
Well, like I said, we have laws that govern labor, you know, so OSH Act is one of them, you know.
And that's in the South African context.
Yes, but then in other countries, they may not necessarily have laws that can protect people when it comes to those things, like providing them with the right tools. But I would say, because we started working from home, a lot of companies may also be selling their furniture, you know, for a song. So it would be good for you maybe to get some of those things. I would say what is important maybe is getting the chair. But the table, it's something that you can, you know, it can be made, you know, and you can find it for very cheap. But the chair becomes really complicated, you know, to make one that is suitable for your work. And the other things, they would probably give you, you know, your 3G card, so that you can actually.
What is that?
Okay, 3G card. It's a network for you to connect to
for the internet and the like.
Yes. So that will make sure that you're always online and they can access you every time they want to. You know, so it's actually becoming an advantage, you know, without you leaving home, because remember, at the end of the day, you know, in the old system, you had to drive to work, you know, and that in itself was taxing. I mean, I come from a background where I work 35 kilometers away from home, but it would take me 2 hours driving to work. So if I have to do that, that's almost 4 hours that I'm spending driving to work. So working from home gave me that space and that time, and it was also comfortable.
So you are seeing that. But you see, our worker had a different view on that, because that meant she never left. And you have the 2 hours of driving to work. But then this other one is saying it was a reprieve to leave the house. I want you as a woman to talk to that. How does that affect, especially the female of the species, working from home and never leaving?
It was actually a challenge, because your presence in a home as a woman means you are taking care of the household. So while some have husbands, the husband continues to work, but you must make sure that the home is taken care of and you still have your own work to do, their children as well. So what tends to, or rather what we need to do as women in this space, because it's a reality, working from home is not going to go away. It is quite important to have that discipline instilled in the home. So as I said, you wake up, you prepare as if you're going to work, and you have to make sure that there is a time that you start logging in. So indeed, you're right, Doctor, that what would then happen is we would be working throughout the day, and there are some responsibilities as well that we're then, not taken care of, because now your focus is just work. And that has also created a lot of anxiety. There was a lot of fatigue that we actually realized because the focus was now trying to be productive, and also that element of showing that you are present in the work that you do. So it came with benefits, but to your point, for homes as well, there were also disadvantages that we actually saw, that there was lack of balance and discipline in the way that we governed our home. It literally felt like you are now bringing work home on a daily basis. So home has now become the new office for you to actually do your work.
Now, as HR people who also advise your companies, shouldn't companies have compensated people for spending their electricity doing their work? And now they are saving on space, because I believe there must be some companies who gave up office space. They were no longer using it. After all, the people are at home. Who should be benefiting from that? Shouldn't companies be magnanimous towards the employees?
So
I'm just throwing it out there.
Absolutely. And I'll speak from our experience. I think when I started, I said, firstly, I appreciated how quickly organization responded to this pandemic. You know, we ensured that people had tools, they were provided with internet connection. We went further, make sure that they have proper desks and they have chairs as well, in order for them to actually do that. But to your point, there are those expenses, borne expenses, that we incurred as employees. And to be honest, there was also an element of gratitude for the fact that most companies tried by all means to preserve jobs and not allow people to be laid off, while some people were losing their jobs. But organizations were then saying, let's look at this holistically, you as an employee and me as an employer, as to how best do we then make this work for us. There are tools of trade that you'll be able to provide, and there is an expectation from you. So that balance was definitely there.
Okay. Can you believe that our time has run out already? So we are going to go out for a short break, and when we come back, then we will look at other issues that have also been unearthed by this phenomenon of working from home.
Wow. Thank you.
Please don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back. If you have just joined us, you've missed a lot. We are just getting into the last session of our wonderful topic, unpacking working from home, a phenomenon we found ourselves saddled with during the COVID-19 pandemic, and apparently continuing even as we are getting out of the pandemic. Now, we are going to be going into other deeper issues that came up because of this pandemic, and probably because of working from home. I'm still with my guests here who are HR practitioners. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Before we left, you had just gone into the issues of isolation, and I would like you to unpack that, because the assumption that sometimes is made is somebody staying at home with other people. Now you are alone and you are working from home, and usually your contact with people was getting into the bus, driving the 2 hours, right? Or riding the 2 hours to work, but among people. And then getting into the office, interacting with people. Now here you are working from home, all alone in there. What was your experience as HR people in terms of that?
So quickly, you're right. Firstly, you felt isolated. It was an isolation of COVID itself and also being isolated from people, from family, because there was a time where nobody could actually move. And it does happen that some don't even have families among themselves. They stay by themselves. So in essence, you are so in your head most of the time and trying to make sense of everything. And exactly to your point, that interaction, human interaction, was now removed, and we had to find new ways of living this thing. The consequences of that is that we saw a lot of people now focusing only on their work. They used work as an escape. Work was just an escape.
Just to get by.
Just to get by, indeed, Doc, just to get by. But what we also found out was that there was now fatigue, and people right now are quietly quitting work. You know, they're just doing the bare minimum in order to be able to survive. But mentally, they are definitely not at that level where they are fully present, you know, in the work. And we are finding those this is the first time where we saw mental health cases, you know, going up. There was also sedentary issues where you're sitting on the chair, your weight as well, because you're not moving. Those are also health issues that actually came to the fore, and we never addressed those as well. So
I know that one of your areas of concentration is learning, you know, developing people going forward. What would be your viewpoint in terms of, while we're in COVID, was there more learning and more development as we are looking at other tools? And we are going to take it very briefly. That response, I would like to hear from you.
You're right, Doctor. Companies started, you know, developing things, you know, like maybe your SOPs, standard operating procedures, that will help people to do their work efficiently. Because when you're in the workplace, you know, your colleagues are within reach. And that makes a lot of people, you know, to be efficient. But now you're sitting at home by yourself, and also some of the tools may not necessarily be accessible that easy. You may not have a printer. Now all of a sudden you need to share your screen and do work that you could do efficient. So they're to bring in, you know, those SOPs, and also develop people so that they become more efficient, and also encourage, you know, breaks that people, you cannot really be sitting in there. And in some teams, you know, I mean, in the team that I work with, it is something that we've got to make sure that it happens. You know, everybody will stand up and will have a walk, so that, you know, people keep healthy. Because
I like that. I like that you have put that in. And I always find it amusing because people sit in meetings for hours on end. When they are physically together, that doesn't come up. But thank you for that. Now, as our time is running out, I have some questions that were brought through, and they're really myths that people deal with in terms of working from home. As you have said, it's not going away. So in our last 3 minutes, I'm going to be asking us to just quickly respond to that and hopefully help somebody. The first one says that remote workers aren't productive. Is that correct?
I would say it's not true. I would say it's not true. I think all that we have to do as employers is to make sure that, you know, we set up smart goals, you know. I'm not going to elaborate on what is smart, you know, simple, measurable, you know, achievable, realistic and time-based. So those are the things that we need to make sure that it happens. And if people are not meeting those goals because of the environment that they find themselves in, let us put in systems, you know, like I said, your SOPs, or even maybe give them tools if we need to help them get furniture so that they can actually, but deal with those problems, because this is not going away.
So what you are saying is managers manage and don't blame staff, yeah?
Yes.
I hear you say you must be a manager where you work. And then the other question says a home-based job is not a real job.
It is a real job. Definitely, it is a real job. As you said, it's about input and outcomes. So we're very, very clear that we're working for organization. For them to survive, obviously, there must be revenue that is generated. So it is quite important as well to see it as that. And it takes mental discipline. You must be disciplined for you to be able to view, for you to experience that as well. So you really have to discipline yourself. You must be resilient. You must know exactly what your goals that have been set for the day are in order for you to be able to achieve that.
Yes. Someone once said, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Absolutely, Doc.
I think when this discussion and the COVID thing are making that so true. I believe that, especially in our African context, there was a time that indeed people who are working online were not seen to be really employed. But now with what we have learned, I'm hoping that many people out there will start looking for jobs online, because it may mean I can work in another country or even in another continent.
Absolutely.
You know, so maybe we should be more open-minded to see what new space has been developed, not just what we have lost. Anyway, as we are winding up, I just wonder if any one of you can take this one. It's a curved ball. If Jesus had lived with us during the COVID time and during the working at home and being isolated, what do you think would have been his impression? What advice do you think would have given us when you find yourself all alone and isolated, not even going to church, not going to work? Any one of you?
I think if Jesus was here, firstly, he would actually say that always do everything with gratitude. Do it excellently as if you're doing it unto the Lord. And in all things, you must be able to give thanks, not in some, but in all things, you must actually be able to give thanks.
You must have hidden something from me, spoken like a preacher. And your last word on the Jesus element and him being around with us? 30 seconds.
I would say people would still, stay away, because if we look at it, I'll talk about the leprosy story. People were still isolated, there to be, removed from the community.
Yes.
So I don't think things would have changed. If you read the book of Leviticus, people were isolated. So human beings will resort to hiding when there is something that they don't understand until they find their feet. Then they come out with a solution.
Thank you so much for coming through. It's been a pleasure. I learned a lot from you. I'm not an HR person, so it's a pleasure to meet other professions. As you've heard it, I hope you also at home have learned as much as I have, or hopefully much more than that. Working at home is not going away. The COVID-19 pandemic has not gone yet. We are still going through one wave after another. We have no idea what is going to come in the future. But if you find yourself needing to stay at home and work at home, remember some of the tips and advices that we're being given, especially those of you who are also employers. No matter how small a scale you are as an employer, remember that your staff, when they are working from home, they can still be productive if you put things in place. Until next time, keep watching, keep learning. This is My Health.